chapter 13, SD 41.13, Satipatthana Nīvaraṇa Sutta. You notice the title is simply Nīvaraṇa Sutta, then we have the word Satipatthana in front, meaning it is connected with Satipatthana, which is another form of meditation. Nīvaraṇa, mental hindrances, things which prevent us from meditating. A 9.64. Okay, the 5 hindrances are abandoned by the 4 satipatthanas. Okay, very simply, what are satipatthanas? These are it's a model, practicing model of meditation. Okay, very well-known model. In other words, for beginners, we look at this as kind of a structured way of meditating. Where do we begin when we meditate? Satipatthana-wise, Satipatthana means focuses of mindfulness. There are 4 of them. So the first focus of mindfulness, that is where do you focus your mind, is the body. We begin with our body. So this first Satipatthana is called body-based meditation. In body-based meditation, we watch the breath. That's the most famous of the body-based meditation. Then we are aware of our postures. We do walking meditation and so on. So these are body-based meditation. So in other words, in any kind of meditation, or rather in a formal meditation, we begin watching the body. Okay, here is where, to really help with this kind of meditation, it is good to understand the suttas. So in other words, you should read suttas teaching about the first aggregate, about the form. So if you understand the nature of the body, then it helps you to also understand what's going on in your meditation. Or after your meditation, during your free time, read the suttas related to the body. Okay, so that's body-based meditation. Then second, you have what's called the feeling-based meditation. Body-based meditation is called kaya-nupassana, watching the body. Feeling-based meditation is called vedana-nupassana, watching feelings. In other words, when we have a body, the body feels. Right? So here, feelings also is the second of the 5 aggregates. So there are lots of writings, lots of suttas dealing with feelings. So it's good to know the sutta teachings and the Buddha's teachings on feelings. Basically, the simplest thing to do with feelings in meditation is see them as being impermanent. That's the most important thing. We don't need to know too much theory about it. See them as being impermanent. Take anger, for example. You see anger arising, it's not a very good feeling. Then stabilizing and then passing away. Right? So, fear arising, fear passing away. Desire arising, desire passing away. Pain arising, pain passing away. So, watching all these feelings. So, in simple terms, it's the second focus of mindfulness, vedana-nupassana. Okay. The third Satipatthana focus of mindfulness is that of the mind, citta-nupassana. Although we may not be watching pain anymore, we begin to notice other thoughts in our minds. We think about the past usually, or we might plan for the future, or we think about, am I sitting correctly? And so some thoughts may arise. Or when you hear something, thoughts arise. So what is that? And you start imagining what is the source of the sound. Those are thoughts. So we have to deal with them. We have to learn to let go of those thoughts. Again, if we are trained well enough, we can just watch the thoughts as they are. And you notice the thoughts coming and then going away, and there's a little break between thoughts. You might notice the break maybe. So you notice that thoughts also, they move very fast, they come and they go. And then you notice how your thoughts change and so on. So again, you're watching the impermanence of your thoughts. We can also say all these thoughts that arise in our minds are mind-made. So that's another way of dealing with thoughts. So that is the third Satipatthana, citta-nupassana. Then the fourth one is called Dharmanupassana. The fourth focus of mindfulness is a bit difficult to translate. Dharma here can also mean reality. In other words, in this stage, you're quite calm already, and you might notice some kind of reality. That's another translation of the term Dharma or Dharma. Some kind of sort of realization, to notice impermanence, or maybe the nature of the five hindrances themselves. We will look at them in a moment. I might as well tell you what they are. Sensual desire is the first one. Ill will, which is opposite of sensual desire. Ill will is the second one. And then sloth-and-torpor is the third one. And then we have number 4, restlessness-and-remorse. And the fifth mental hindrance is doubt. You might even notice all this in your meditation. But you notice them as they are. Right? You begin to understand them better. Or you might begin to have very wonderful, inspiring ideas about the Four Noble Truths. You will begin to have some vision of the real nature of suffering. You might realize that, wow, suffering is so universal, it's everywhere. Even though when people are happy, in that very happiness lies the roots of suffering. Because when that happiness goes away, people are not happy, right? So when there is happiness, there is sorrow. When sorrow is removed, there is happiness. So they need each other. They are two sides of the coin. You cannot have one without the other. When you're very happy, always remember, when that happiness is gone, you're going to miss it. Right? So this is the way the world thinks. So we reflect in that way, nature of suffering. And then the arising of suffering. Why does it arise? Because of craving. Because people do not know even happiness is a conditioned thing. In other words, they're all impermanent, they come, they go. So when they are there, it's good. When they're not there, it's good too, and then you're happy. And then we might have some vision of nirvana. It's like, wow, when all this suffering is gone, we feel really good. And then we ask, how do we practice it? Right? So you have the Eight Noble Eightfold Path, and so on. So these kind of ideas may arise in your mind as you meditate. Okay? So this is the fourth Satipatthana, Dhammanupassana. So we use these 4 focuses of mindfulness to overcome the 5 mental hindrances. So let me just read the sutta, then I'll go on a bit more about the 5 mental hindrances. Look at page 142, the discourse on the hindrances. I think we should add brackets there. Relating to Satipatthana. A9.64, the 5 mental hindrances. There are bhikshus, these 5 mental hindrances. What are the 5? The mental hindrance that is sensual desire, the mental hindrance that is ill will, the mental hindrance that is sloth and torpor, the mental hindrance that is restlessness and remorse, the mental hindrance that is doubt. Okay, very simply, what are they? The first hindrance we face in meditation is called sensual desire. This means our 5 senses distract us in meditation. We have to deal with them. This is the first hindrance, right? Meaning, what we see, hear, smell, taste, touch will hinder us if we are not well instructed, not prepared for it. So that's why, for example, when we meditate, we close our eyes, so we don't have to process what we see. And then we sit very still, we don't have to process our actions, right? We don't take much food, so we don't have to worry too much about the taste of food, because if you eat so little, you're so hungry, any kind of simple food is welcome. And then you kind of lead a very calm, relaxed life, right? And normally we choose a comfortable place for meditation, so that the 5 senses can be rested. Now, if you can do that, then you find the 5 senses do not distract you. And then you find the environment is such, there are rules, for example, dress simple, the men be one side, the women on another side. It's not that, it's nothing to do with sexism here, it's just you don't get distracted. and you have enough rest, things like that. Then you find you're at peace with your body, in other words. When you're at peace with your body, then you have less problem with sensual desire. You have less food, you live in a peaceful environment, you don't watch TV, no radio, no handphones, right? So you find your mind is focused on the here and now. Now, ill will is, in a sense, the opposite of sensual desire, because when you cannot get something, you're going to get upset about it. So, sensual desire is the key hindrance here, actually. So if you don't have sensual desire, you're not likely to have ill will either. On the other hand, ill will may arise with pain. For example, if you meditate, you sit in the wrong way, and you're not sure what to do, and you try not to move your legs, and the pain grows, you get a little upset. That's an example of ill will. So here's where proper instruction is very important. Get the right instructions. So the idea is to be relaxed in your meditation, and then with proper instructions, you know what to do. You sit properly, you're comfortable, and if you're not comfortable, you adjust yourself. So there's no need for ill will, and you can just stop your meditation whenever you feel it's enough, or you find you can't sit longer. So there's no need for ill will. Another way is to do loving kindness. Loving kindness helps you to overcome ill will. Right? So this, in other words, if you ask your teacher, study the suttas, get the proper instructions, you will know how to overcome ill will. And of course, there is this simple practice of smiling in your meditation, and that helps you to overcome negative thoughts also. The third mental hindrance is called sloth-and-torpor. This basically is sleepiness, tiredness of body, tiredness of mind. It's because some people, they might try too hard, or maybe the meditation method or object is not suitable for them. Then you try, to change the object. You find if you can't do breath well, you try loving kindness. You can't do loving kindness, you do breath, or you do walking meditation. Sometimes variety. The moment you find you have gone to the limit of your ability to stay without an object, then you switch your meditation. So everyone has this limit of timing, right? So it's not that you can't meditate. Your timing goes up to that point. So once you reach the end of that timing, you have done well during the first 5 or 10 minutes. So you stop there and do some other meditation, do walking and so on. So a lot of people, they say they can't meditate. Maybe they can only do for 10 minutes, and they try to do for 20 minutes, and they say, oh, I can't meditate, which is not a correct assessment. That is why wise teachers often will tell you, don't look at what you can't do in meditation. Recall to mind what you can do. Okay, how long could you meditate? 10 minutes. Okay, that 10 minutes is good. Then after the 10 minutes, do walking, or maybe just relax, sit back, or even do some simple recitation of dharmas, or even some, for example, reflecting on the 3 jewels, just to kind of relax yourself in a meditative way, so to speak, or watching something beautiful and natural around you, like a flower, stream, a leaf floating down from the tree and so on, things like that. So in other words, be present, be there, happily, be whatever is around you, and you find you be at peace with yourself, and you feel energized. Of course, sometimes you can feel over-energized, so you become restless and remorseful. They go together. Restlessness and remorse. Here, remorse is when we go into the past, or some negative memories come back. This is natural, and we even need to expect it in a sense, and we should not be troubled by it. It's really good, in fact. It's like we call it, closing a chapter, accepting things as they happen, forgiving ourselves, resolving an issue, right? In the calmness of our minds, we might recall to mind something we have done which we should not do, or something we should have done which we didn't, and then we feel bad about it. But it's all gone, it's in the past, it's all over. So, and we're not the only one in the whole world doing this thing. I mean, it's kind of, other people have done it, but of course, the fact that we have done it, we might feel bad about it, but the fact that we didn't do it, we feel bad about it. It's just a feeling, it's gone, so just let it go. This is when loving kindness is very important. Loving kindness is complete unconditional acceptance of ourselves. I accept myself as I am. I forgive myself completely. And you feel good about this, because if you don't forgive yourself, no one else can. So this is one way of letting go of remorse, of guilt. And then the restlessness is when we think ahead. We say, oh, what shall I do after this meditation? And so on, or we plan something. Sometimes when you meditate, you get wonderful ideas in your mind. And especially if you're a creative person, you'll never forget those good ideas. So just smile at the idea and say, good, or remember this idea, continue your meditation. And at the end of your meditation, if you like, you can jot this down. I received a very beautiful letter today from a nun, or perhaps a laywoman who's Mechi or something like that, from the US. She wrote to me and said that she's on retreat. She's very old, she's like 85, and she's very happy reading all those my essays on the 5 mental hindrances, and she felt that she should write to me. So she was in this meditation retreat, and then she had this long break, and she said that's the only time she could write this nice 2-page letter, beautifully handwritten. I wish I had such handwriting. I told myself, it's amazing. I feel such a great privilege to get a handwritten letter, 2 full pages, sent to me all the way from the US. I mean, nowadays people just email each other, And then she was writing to me saying how happy she is to read the essays on the 5 aggregates and things that she had been, wanting to read, especially in a modern way of writing, contemporary way of writing, because she has lived in the West for so long. She says this kind of writing is very helpful for Westerners instead of the ritual kind of Buddhism. So it makes me happy also to read this kind of feedback. It shows this person is very happy, and she's very Dhamma-minded, and she's very happy reading the suttas and so on. So you find this kind of person, you're happy, and it's really wonderful to be happy. This reminds me also, I'm also watching this show called Middlemarch. Middlemarch is said to be one of the most beautiful novel in English. The other is called Moby Dick in American literature. Middlemarch is English literature. This is a story about, it's a very complicated story of many characters about a provincial place in England during the Queen Victoria's time, just after the French Revolution and the Industrial Revolution was coming up. The key idea in this story, Middlemarch, is actually reform, change, social change especially. Anyway, my point in mentioning this is one of the characters, the main woman character called Dorothea, she lives a very simple life, very, very intelligent woman. She keeps saying, if you live, you must bring happiness to others. Basically like that. Wow, it's really Buddhistic, She says things something like, we must bring beauty into this world, we must bring happiness to other people. And she tried her best to do that, despite her sufferings, her unhappy marriage, 2 marriages that failed, And despite that, she never felt bad. She's always compassionate for other people. She never feels discouraged because people mistreated her. So she has that amazing happy energy, always thinking about others. And there is a man character, poor man. So most of these people are very rich, the noble classes. The other person is, he works like an estate manager, and his name is Caleb. So he's the kind of person again who who will not work for money. And even if he has to charge, he's charged minimal. It's not something easy, but he does that. In other words, he's of service to others. He's always willing and happy to help others whenever he can. In fact, he will go way out to make sure other people get what they need and so on. So you have these two wonderful characters. And there are lots of bad characters, by the way. These are the two wonderful, happy characters. So in other words, if you have this kind of feeling in you as a Buddhist, it's very wonderful. That your aim in life, or at least your ongoing thought in your mind is, how can I bring happiness to others? How can I beautify the lives of others? Now if you can do that, obviously you are happy yourself. So this is one way of living a very meaningful life. Then you find our suffering is not that bad. Our suffering is not really that bad because there are other people who are suffering more than us. And at the same time, if we are happy and joyful, you find there are other people who are even more happy and joyful or richer than us. So we're kind of somewhere in between. But if you can show this special quality, you find you are really engaged with others. Then, because people appreciate you, you find you have lots of friends. They are there. Wherever you go, people know you with a kind of a good feeling about you. Alright? So that's called loving kindness. Alright, so the last hindrance is doubt. Right? Sometimes we will meditate, we're not sure. So, oh dear, how can I really meditate? Will I succeed? And so on, right? So that's thinking already. So you have to let go of thinking when you meditate. You just do it yourself. The best way to overcome doubt, of course, is wisdom. So it's useful to know the suttas, get instructions, be attentive listening to studies and talks and instructions. And do not be with negative people, because some religion can be very negative to tell you you cannot help yourself and so on and so forth. But in meditation, you can help yourself. The very first message of Buddhism is you can help yourself. You must help yourself. If you don't, who else is there to help you? So this message is very important for us to clear doubts away, in other words, and to ask questions whenever you need to. So those are the 5 mental hindrances. Alright, then the sutta closes, section 3. The Buddha says, Bhikshus, the 4 focuses of mindfulness are to be cultivated for the abandoning of these 5 mental hindrances. Right? So we use the 4 focuses of mindfulness to clear away the 5 mental hindrances. Here, what are the 4? Here, bhikshus, a monk dwells exertive, clearly aware, mindful, observing or watching the body in the body, removing covetousness and displeasure or discontent in regard to the world. Okay, this is the first. This is Kayanupassana, which I've explained earlier. So here you do this meditation simply watching the body as the body. In other words, watching the breath, for example, doing your walking meditation and so on. And that way you will overcome the 5 mental hindrances. 2, he dwells exertive, clearly aware, mindful, observing feelings in the feelings, removing covetousness and displeasure in regard to the world. Notice, removing covetousness and displeasure. Covetousness is the first hindrance, displeasure is the second hindrance. This too is a shorthand for all the 5 mental hindrances. In regard to the world here are the 5 senses. So we just let go, give the 5 senses a good rest. Focus on the mind. Understand the mind, you understand everything else. 3, he dwells exertive, clearly aware, mindful, observing the mind in the mind, removing covetousness and displeasure in regard to the world. He dwells exertive, clearly aware, mindful, observing dharmas in the dharmas, removing covetousness and displeasure in regard to the world. These bhikshus are the 4 focuses of mindfulness. They are to be cultivated for the abandoning of these 5 mental hindrances. So this sutta clearly shows that you use Satipatthana, 4 focuses of mindfulness, to overcome 5 mental hindrances. But elsewhere, you also see the Buddha teaching, you use this kind of 4 focuses of mindfulness where the 5 hindrances are all cleared to attain jhana. That's the next step. So you find there are different ways of, two basic ways of using the 4 focuses of mindfulness. So this is more like for beginners. So the sutta ends there. It's a very short, simple sutta on using the 4 focuses of mindfulness to overcome the 5 things that hinder us from our meditation. Okay? So we end there. So just nice, huh? Let's close here. No questions, huh? Alright, let us close with a short reflection. There are many suttas which help us to understand our meditation better, or rather to understand ourselves better, so that we are able to do our meditation more properly, more effectively. If you're not sure what suttas to study, we just glance through the various titles, and there's always something there, maybe a passage that we like. Or we can ask teachers to recommend suttas to study. So as you go to the suttas, remember those passages, even a line, a sentence, or a word that you like. That's your key. And go from there. And then when you feel peaceful, then you are ready for your meditation. That's how the suttas help us in our meditation. Reflecting in this way is very good and skillful karma with the power of such thoughts and various other good deeds we have been doing, our faith in the 3 jewels, our practice of charity, our keeping of the precepts, and our desire to train ourselves to be better. With the power of all these good things, may we attain spiritual liberation in this life itself, especially stream winning. In this moment of peace also, let us send out our loving kindness and wish all our loved ones well and happy, including our teachers. And also, and all our friends, even enemies, be well and happy too. That wherever we go, we have kind and good people coming to us. Above all, and even those who are far away from the Dharma to see the Dharma so that they become good people. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.